President of the United States, number 45, President Donald Trump. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Flashpoint.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor. Great honor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. All right, just a few questions. I know you've got just a little bit of time. This may seem obvious to most people, but they need to know, why are so many in the mainstream media? What are your thoughts about that?
Because the media is corrupt, Pastor. You know it as well as I do, and many people know it. Probably the ones that know it best is the media itself. They are corrupt. They don't tell the truth, and they are, in fact, the enemy of the people, and it's a terrible thing. We had a tremendous audit. It was done by the Senate, the Arizona Senate, and they're brave people, and the findings were unbelievable, all different categories, and it was a disgrace. So the media doesn't want to call it. I think they called it findings at the end, findings, and the findings were just brutal, and yet the media doesn't want to report the findings. It's really a very sad thing for our country.
It is, and Americans have lost respect for the media, and we're turning that around. But I find it very interesting. I've watched you in your rallies post 2020. What does it say? You're still able to draw such huge numbers in places like Coleman, Alabama, and Perry, Georgia. Right. I mean, this has ever come close to that. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's a great honor. They like what I'm saying. Probably they think I'm extremely handsome, but I'm only kidding. But they do like what I'm saying. And frankly, we had 68,000 people, as you know, a few weeks ago in Alabama, 38,000 in Georgia just this past weekend. And that's with Georgia playing a football game that day.
That's right. That's right.
And winning very big, 62-0. So that was, nice. It was a good feeling in that big arena. So I would just say that they like what I'm saying. They want somebody to say it. They don't hear it much, as you know. You hear these politicians talk, and they don't want to talk about anything, and that's why our country is going so far radical left. And, some people say socialist, and some people say communist. I mean, it's terrible. Part of the thing with the media is, and as you know, what happens to countries is when you lose your voice, when they don't say what's going on, that's the first step toward communism, and it's a terrible, terrible thing that's happening in our country, what they don't talk about, what they do talk about, and maybe even worse, what they don't talk about. It's very terrible.
It is. Let's go to a little bit more current. This week, General Milley testified in Congress and defended his decision to call the Chinese, undermining you as commander-in-chief, and he defended his decision to keep Pelosi in the loop. What's your reaction to all of that?
Well, he's a strongly left-leaning person. He's been there for a long time in the military, but very, very left, a Democrat, and frankly, he's weak. And he's been weak for a long time, and I realized that during the course. When I walked down to the church, and Gene, I'm sure you liked it, and a lot of people liked it, most people liked it, but the radical left didn't like it, and they started really hitting him. And rather than saying, I'm proud to walk with my president or the office of the president, if you want, he was apologizing all over the place. And then very interestingly, he spoke to all of these authors, but then he said, no, he can't talk about anything, and said, well, he spoke to all of the authors of the book. So he's turned out to be weak. And when you look at what he did in Afghanistan, I think it was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, leaving $85 billion behind of the best equipment in the world, Apache helicopters and everything. And obviously our 12 warriors, incredible warriors killed, and many injured. We don't talk about that. Nobody talks about that, but many injured and other people killed. Could be as many as 250 people killed. This was all because we took the military out before we asked the Americans. I mean, we have Americans that are actually being held captive over there. It is a disgrace what the military did. They shamed us. They surrendered and they shamed us.
That's so true. And I know Americans, they're not letting this go, sir. They're upset about it.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will let this go. I think this is going to be one of those things that they're going to remember.
All right, last question. I know you need to go here soon. There are between 90 and 100 million evangelicals in America. And as you know, our Flashpoint audience is highly motivated part of that group. What's your message to them? How should they stay engaged with you and the nation during this tumultuous time?
So nobody has done more for Christianity or for evangelicals or for religion itself than I have. So many different things, getting rid of the Johnson Amendment, you know that? That's where people like you that we want to hear weren't able to speak because you lose your tax-exempt status, which is a very bad thing and very costly and not even anything that you can do. But so many different things we've done. Mexico City policy. We could go down a list of items. And I said that Biden was going to be bad. He's turned out to be far worse than anybody ever thought. You talk about abortion. You talk about all of the subjects that you do every Sunday and
That's
all
right.
during the week. And he's terrible on these subjects. And he lied. And they just like that happened. They also cheated very much on what they really think of organized religion and frankly Christianity. And I said it was going to happen, but I had no idea it was going to be this bad. You take a look at what they're doing; it's destructive. Also, nobody's done so much for Israel as they have, as you know.
That's right.
With Jerusalem and frankly ending the Iran nuclear deal, which is a disaster. And all of the other things I've done for Israel. So, and by the way, in the evangelical community, I actually get probably more credit for that than I do with Jewish people. But Israel's a very important element. So nobody's done what I've done, and I'm very happy to do it. And they've turned out to be much worse than anybody ever thought.
Right. Agreed. Well, sir, thank you for what you did with Israel. As you said, the evangelical community is very supportive. And when the embassy moved to Jerusalem, that was huge. That rocked the world. And that's truly a major milestone in your administration. I will let you go. Thank you so much for dropping by Flashpoint. Thank you. And on behalf of the Flashpoint Army, sir, we're behind you. We're praying for you. And we believe the best is yet to come.
Well, Pastor, you're a great man, and everybody respects you and respects your voice. And I am one of them. I'm at the top of the list. So I just want to tell you thank you very much for everything you've done. We've had tremendous success with exactly what you do, and it's an honor to have helped.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gene. Bye.
Well, all right, Lance. You heard the president. What's your thoughts?
Well, every time I'm with him, he talks about you, Gene, so it doesn't surprise me that you got the phone call.
I just, there you go. I just, you heard he respects me, so I expect a little more out of you.
Well, he does, and I think the fact that we should call you pastor, I think that maybe you should be maybe given that honor here a little more. But
that's all right.
I don't know. We see you as like the journalist pastor. You got a unique kind of hat.
There you go.
Good questions you asked, though, Gene.
Thank you.
Those were very good questions.
Thank you very much. So, David Harris, what do you hear what he's talking about? I love the fact that he brought up moving the embassy back to Jerusalem because, that was huge. That was massive for the American Christians. And if you remember, it was almost like he's going to get that. He's going to do it. And then you're like, well, is he going to get it done before he's out of office? And then it's just a few weeks and man, they're having the opening ceremonies. And it was a huge thing that he did.
Huge. And it makes me sad too, Gene, that more believers didn't see what President Donald Trump was doing while he was in office and pay attention to that more than they did the mainstream media. Unfortunately, so many believers, obviously, if we just united around the individuals that champion pro-life. Donald Trump was the first sitting president to attend a pro-life rally. He did move our embassy to Jerusalem. The last three presidents before him had all said that they were going to do that. They kind of held it out there as a carrot to the Christian community, and then they didn't get it done. He got it done, and he did it under budget. He continued to stand up for religious liberties, lifted the Johnson Amendment, like you said. If believers would just pay attention to the actions of individuals that are trying to represent us and stop listening to especially the mainstream media, which is 90% at least, if not 95%, left-leaning, biased, and antichrist in nature, then we'd actually support individuals that do represent our values. So I think your interview was amazing. I always love hearing President Trump speak. And I always think it's great as well that he's reached out to individuals like myself and you. We're not, you're on a network. You have a very big network. And he's still reached out to you to say, hey, but you're not Fox and you're not Newsmax.
Right.
But he said, I want to honor the Christian community. I know what Flashpoint brings to the table, and I know the audience that Flashpoint has, and I want to reach out to them. So we have a president that's tried to be transparent. I think he's been transparent throughout his entire presidency. He says what he means. He does what he says. And unfortunately, we do not have that in the White House. And like Mario has said before, I think that it's all things work together for good. And the fact that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are in office right now realizes their absolute and utter mistake and doesn't ever let it happen again.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, Mario, your thoughts, President?
You know, what I'm feeling tonight is that we're at a breaking point. We're watching it in New York. All of the metrics for our 10 Crusades starting Sunday show that it's going against the grain. People are coming, unifying pastors on a level they've never seen. And what it speaks to is the fact that unity is creating hope and forceful repentance, and people realize they can take their country back. And at some point tonight, I want to comment on a British journalist who I think is a danger to the left, even though he himself is a Democrat and a leftist. He represents a force that we're about to see that's going to be used of God in a very unusual way. But for this moment, what I want to say to the audience is that President Trump was just with us, and he said the media is corrupt. He told you they're corrupt. And one of the things is that the media is not covering any events that don't fit their narrative, which means that there could very well be a massive event already in progress in America that none of us know about. There could be an outpouring of God going on right now because high tech and the media is muzzling so much. We don't have any idea what may be happening right now, but I'm telling you something. It's about to break. It's about to break wide open.
That's right. You know, Lance, you know, watching President Trump there, and, you know, you were my very first guest when we first started this program over a year ago. And seeing where we've come, I mean, it truly is amazing to see where we've come. On the other side of that, what you said, David and Mario, the fact that he has to come somewhere that's not the mainstream media. The mainstream media is now us, because we're where people are getting their news. People like every one of you guys, they're getting their news because they trust you, they trust us, and this is the new norm. No longer is it the other mainstream outlets.
It's beautiful. It's lovely. It's as long as we have the freedom we've got and we have the capitalist economy, we can create ways of working around the system. I want to remind everyone here, it's a little bit of a concept, but it's worth learning. The Reformation with Luther was initially an invitation to the Catholic Church in the Dark Ages to reform. When they rejected it, God decided to go outside of the mountain of the Catholic Church and create his own mountain, and it became the Protestant movement. The Protestant movement was created because a wineskin wouldn't judge itself and adjust to the truth. The media is the wineskin of the Dark Ages right now. But God is creating a new wineskin, and it's a new media. And into that new media, programs like this, programs like Real America's Voice, programs like Newsmax, programs like we've got on those platforms are the new movement. And the people of God are going there in droves. So we're taking a little while to reconstruct a platform for President Trump. But trust me, there is a way that God works in history. And if a sphere rejects reform when God wants it to change, he'll create a competing structure that will take it on and take it down. Yeah, boy, that's the truth. And we are that structure. We're all willing to step into that place in what we're doing. Yeah, and it's what an honor to have President Trump on for sure.